still good.
That's good.
It's very good. Well, Hazel, I'm going to start anyway.
Okay.
And
Shall I close these doors? Or?
no, leave them
Okay.
open in case people come in. That's fine. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the national headquarters of the Theosophical Society in America. My name is John Chianchosi. I'm the Director of Public Programs, and at this time I ask that you turn off your cell phones and other noise-making electronic devices. The Theosophical Society promotes study, meditation, and service. We encourage open-minded inquiry into the world religions, philosophy, science, and the arts. And we have a deep respect for the unity of all life. Our goal is to help people explore the spiritual path so as to arrive at a deeper understanding regarding the wisdom of the ages. Furthermore, we believe that this wisdom is not limited to any one tradition, and thus we offer programs from all traditions. We invite you to take one of our program brochures for the winter season that covers the programs that we are offering from the month of January through to the end of March. You can also find this listing of programs on our website, and we group our programs under different categories, beginning with the Thursday lecture series. And then we have events, workshops, and retreats, which are usually on the weekend. Many ongoing classes and groups that meet throughout the week, mainly in the auditorium or our classroom, and some of them in the library. And we also offer a great number of online courses that you can participate in from the comfort of your own home. And these may be of special interest for the people watching through the internet this evening. The Theosophical Society is a membership organization, and as such, we are always happy to welcome new members. If you are in agreement with the mission of this organization and would like to support the work that we do, please consider joining. It's easy to do. You can join by filling out the membership form online or picking up a paper copy from the reception area. However, what we offer here in terms of the programs or the resources, which are vast, beautiful library, bookshop, 40 acres of parkland, are freely available to everyone or open to everyone. And we welcome everyone, whether you're a member or not. Now, this evening, I'm very happy to be able to introduce to some of you for the first time, to many of you, from what I have observed, a friend of yours, because many people seem to know her rather well. It is my first time of meeting our speakers, this evening's speaker, Hazel Archer-Ginsberg. She is a spiritual midwife and trans-denominational minister working in an eclectic style that inspires connections and initiates us into the magic awaiting to be revealed in the cycle of the seasons. She is also the festival's coordinator of the Rudolf Steiner branch of the Anthroposophical Society. She's a lecturer, a promoter, a blogger, a painter, a poet, and a performance artist. That's quite a list of accomplishments. And this evening she will be speaking on the mysteries of the Celtic Goddesses. Please join me in welcoming Hazel Archer-Ginsberg.
Greetings, greetings, and welcome. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm just thrilled to be here. It has been way too long since I walked these hallowed grounds, and what a beautiful place this is. And, I brought a small tribe with me, it's true. We squeezed into the Prius, and we took a little pilgrimage from the shores of the great inland sea of Chicago to be with you on this very auspicious evening. And, it's special not only because of our compelling topic today, but But because tonight, I don't know if you noticed it, did you see the moon? It is the eve of the full moon. It is the quickening moon. And this is an indication that we're in the midst of a shift. Can you feel it? Yeah, the sap is starting to rise. So many cultures celebrate this shift. Tonight actually happens to be the eve of Tu B'Shvat, which is the new year or the happy birthday for the trees, right? The shift in the earth itself. And so we'll discover that many cultures, they celebrate the new year at the springtime, right? It's the time of new beginnings. So, yes, this is our picture of I'm working with this little clicker now. I have to put that in my hand. Well, and so around the world, there's many sacred sites, but especially in Ireland, where the folks would gather on a night like tonight, maybe if it wasn't so cold, right, to celebrate. And so in the Wheel of the Year, this time that we're in right now is known as a cross quarter. It's a magical, liminal time in between the equinoxes, which we experience twice a year, where it's equal daytime and equal nighttime. And then we have the solstices, which give us the polarities, right? So this time of year, well, the Muggles call it Groundhog's Day, right? Do you ever see that movie? It's amazing. It's amazing. And, well, the Catholic Church calls it Candlemas, or the Feast of the Purification of Mary. And there are other names, Tu B'Shvat, for one. You can say that. It's very easy to say. But the Celts call it Imbolc, which means in the belly. It's the quickening of Mother Earth, right? It's the season of the lambs. And so, of course, the ancients knew about these power spots. The folks would mark certain areas to mark the cycle of the year and to anchor all of these celestial alignments right into the earth. And there are amazing places that are older than the pyramids. And, creating these passageways for the celestial light to enter into the earth. And so, the Emerald Isles are really a magical spot. They have kept their integrity, they've kept their vital power over the years. There's a lot of sacred sites that, have become degraded over the time, but in the Celtic Isles, it still holds an energy that's robust and a true vortex of spiritual energy. And so tonight, I wanted to divide our time up into some phases, right? So we're going to have 6 phases. And each phase, we're going to go a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper. I'm going to get you involved here. And so, number 1, here we are. We're laying the foundation. We're going to do a little history. And then we'll get a little deeper by looking in through the eyes of Brigid, who is an amazing archetype, which will give us a lot of insights into the Celtic mysteries. And then, 3rd phase, we're going to put you to work. So we'll do a little guided meditation, and this is a time of purification. So I'm going to ask you to look within and really think about what it is that you want to get rid of, right? Because you have to clear the way. You have to sweep the hearth clean before you can build the new fire, right? Before you can plant the seeds. So that's the first stage. We'll purge away what no longer serves. And then I'll ask you to say, well, what is it that I want to grow? So you'll get to do some work. And then we'll go further and deeper. And we'll invoke the goddess Brigid into our midst. We'll bring this practical alchemy of this amazing Celtic triple goddess to purify and to awaken and galvanize our head and our heart and our hands. So Brigid's first festival is Imbolc, right? It's her time. It's a time of spiritual rededication and initiation. And so Brigid's going to take us and help us to forge ourselves into the tools of our own destiny. So we're going to take a trip to the hearth and the fiery forge and the sacred well, and rouse the mysteries that are growing within ourselves. And then, after we do all that, we're going to have to take a little breather, right? Bring it all in, right? Bring it all in. And then at the end, for the 6th, we're going to gather around over here by the sacred flame, and we'll do a little call and response chant. We'll really rise the energy and honor ourselves tonight. And then we'll share the flame. So, before we get started, I just want to ask, who could honestly say, "Kiss me, I'm Irish"? Anyone? Okay. Yeah. Well, don't worry if you didn't raise your hand, because everyone whose family roots come anywhere near Europe, has some sort of Celtic connection. And even though this culture is very, very ancient, even today in the year 2017, every aspect of the Celtic culture is still very, very vital, very visible in our multicultural world. So it goes back over 3,000 years, and yet it's still a living force in our modern world through Celtic art, right? The textiles are beautiful. Celtic music, we had little bagpipes when you first came in. And of course, the Celtic spirituality. So this unbroken tradition can be experienced in some of the oldest literature from Northern Europe. And of course, the many myths of the gods and goddesses. And the Welsh and Irish languages, just so unique and beautiful, just, really preserving the ancient worldview with its veneration of nature, right? Because of them, we all know about the little people, don't we? Everyone's heard about the leprechauns and all the other elemental spirits, filling so many rich and poetic stories. Well, it is the land of the bard, after all, right? So it's really a sacred land, and it really brings the spiritual and the material worlds together to really enhance each other. And so throughout the history, the Celtic traditions, beliefs, they have not remained static. They've continued to progress. They keep up with the times. In the ancient days, the Romans called the pre-Celtic people Pictish, the Picts, or the painted people, because of their tattoos, right? And the wart that they wore, the blue dye that they put on their bodies to scare their enemies in battle. And so the tribes of what, we kind of think of today as the Irish folk, these are the northern Celts. And they assimilated with these earlier folks over time. And so that's why you see, some Irish folks that are small and dark and others that are tall and fair. And then, of course, we have the Druids. Now, we could do a whole lecture on them, such a fascinating history. But they came after the Celtic pantheons and before Christianity came over. And, that brought the Celtic Church. Now, I really could do this whole presentation just on all the beauty, the sacred sites, and there's so much to talk about. But, while I was putting this together, and we only have limited time, right? This not so little voice kept shouting in my ear, "Brigid, Brigid, Brigid." Well, I don't know about you, but if the goddess calls, you've got to answer, right? And so I think we really will learn quite a bit by looking through her eyes tonight. She's really just probably the most complex and contradictory of the goddesses. And so she has many names. Brigid. She's also commonly called Bride or Breed. And she is, for one thing, the goddess of poetry. Breed is the primal retainer of culture and learning, the progenitress of the Bardic lore. So to this day, many of the seer poets referred to as the Banshee, you've heard about these women of the fairy hills. Well, they are preserving the poetic function of Brigid by keeping the oral tradition alive. And as patroness of the smithcraft, Brigid is connected to many stories about the creation of the world, utilizing all the elements to craft and fuse the universe. And it's really interesting to note, the communities in the ancient Celtic cultures were so important. And the smithy really, they held a sacred trust, because it was all about magical powers. They're working with this primal element of fire, for one thing, and they're molding metal dug up from the earth, right? This is skill and knowledge and strength. And so we'll explore later the fact that Brigid is also the goddess of the sacred well, associated with healing and scrying for divination and prophecy. Along those lines, the sacred waters, 3 rivers are named after her. One in Ireland, one in Wales, and one in England. And in modern Britain, even today, she's known as the warrior maiden Brigancia. Did you know that? I mean, we have a folk spirit here in America called Columbia. Maybe you've heard of her. Well, in Ireland and even in Britain, Brigancia, which is a form that Brigid takes, and she's also, depicted on the coin of the realm here. So she gets around. One of her ancient names, Briosagad, which means fiery arrow. And within this name is the attribute of divine judgment and true justice. So there's a story that comes from the 12th century in which Merlin is inspired by Brigid, as the sovereign of Britain. And she causes his vision to reach out throughout history, and from the beginning of time all the way to the end of the universe. And there's other stories of Taliesin, who talked about how he was given a cosmology that was inspired by Brigid. So, she's central to many of the heroic myths, especially those connected with underworld quests and sacred kinship. Now, her important association with the cow and the lamb, 2 of her totem animals, point up their critical necessity in the agrarian culture of the Celtic folk, which directly relates to the festival of Imbolc. And so really this festival is so completely hers. It involves the relighting of the hearth fires, purification that we're going to talk about more, and this idea of forging the new. And so the significance of Imbolc really, it's so deep. It really needs its own workshop. It needs a weekend, a couple lifetimes perhaps, but don't worry, we're gonna approach it in phase 3. But I wanted to just kind of lay a little bit of a foundation so that you really understand, the significance of this important festival. Because it's really necessary to keep in mind that, it's a life and death struggle, right? Just living through the winter for these people, in any farm-based society, right? In a world that's lit only by fire, everything's cold, the ice, your food starts to run out, it's holding you in its grip, and it only relaxed with the arrival of spring. So although the spring equinox doesn't come until, much later in March, and is celebrated by a festival called Ostara, which is the name of the goddess of spring. And you may recognize that it's the origin of another festival we call Easter, right? Ostara, Easter. And of course, at the height of spring, we have Beltane, right? And that's dedicated to the god of fire, Bel, and brings in all that fertility and all that fun. So Imbolc is so important because these cross quarters are really what pushed the wheel. And so the people knew that once they came to this time of year, yes, the promise of spring, it's there, it's around the corner, right? Good times, better times are coming. So during these cold months, certain issues become pressing, right? Is there enough food? Number 1. Will illness decimate the tribe? Especially in the case of the young people, the old people, nursing mothers. And what about the animals, right? They're so crucial to life. One of their burning questions would be, the pregnant cows and ewes, since their milk was the primary food at this time of year, which might mean the difference between life and death. So at Imbolc, these animals start to give birth, and their milk begins to flow. And to the Celts, this was a sacred food. This is no, it's not homogenized milk. It is pure, nurturing purity. And, just like in ancient Egypt, the cow was a symbol of the sacredness of motherhood, right? The life force sustained and nurtured. And so it's not a contented, passive cow. No, we're talking about an active mother who's looking out for the well-being of her children. So Imbolc really divides the winter in half. The crone months of the year departing, and the promise of the spring maiden just around the corner. And after the advent of Christianity, when the goddess Brigid became Saint Brigid, the church tied it to what they call Candlemas, which is associated with the feast of the purification of Mary. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it was and is definitely a festival of the divine feminine. Women, even today, gather to welcome this maiden aspect of the goddess as embodied by Brigid. And those tribes in the ancient days, if they had wheat left, they would make some cakes. And if a family had flour by the end of this time, they were considered to be very wealthy, very blessed. And if they could share them outside of their family, it was considered to be, quite an honor. And so in those days, they would have processions. They would create an idol, sort of an icon, a doll dressed in white. Sometimes she would carry a white wand, some birch wood, or she'd have a crystal upon her chest. And so this doll was carried in these processions by the young men and the maidens dressed all in white, and they'd give gifts of milk. They'd present them to the goddess with a special feast for the maidens. And of course, the young men were invited to this feast for the purpose of ritual mating, because, you have to have some new souls, because, the cold weather knocks some people out, right? So they would say, if a young woman would just speak the name Brigid with all her heart, that the dwelling place that echoes her name would radiate with light. And so they thought of Brigid as the one who hangs her cloak upon the rays of the sun. And so she was invoked at these dances, because she had the status of a sun goddess. So here's some other beautiful icons. People get really elaborate with these things. Look at that one. So Brigid, her name means exalted one. She transcended all the territorial considerations, and she provided unity between the warring tribes in Western Europe and the Isles. Her 3 sons actually gave their names to the soldiers of Gaul. And so we'll hear more about Brigid's triple aspect, but as mother goddess, Brigid, really united the Celts throughout the whole area. She was one feature in which they all agreed, right? No matter how different their location was or what their traditions were. And in addition to her totem animals, she's also associated with the rooster, which is going to be very powerful this year, since we have the Chinese New Year was the red fire rooster, right? So we're got to get a little cock-a-doodle-doo going, folks. Right, herald of the new dawn. And the snake, right, the symbol of regeneration. And of course, serpents are a common theme in Celtic jewelry, right? Another product of smithing. So in this way, it's interesting to see the connections, right? This is a fertility symbol. So she's connected with these goddesses of old. And she also shares this, her other emblems of the shield and the spear, some things that the Roman goddess Minerva had. And her embroidery tools, which are also something that Minerva is seen with, are said to be preserved at the chapel in Glastonbury, along with her bag and her belt, a symbol of her healing. And these are her colors. You can see it on the altar there. White, black, and red, right? And interestingly enough, those same colors are associated with Kali, right? Gives another dimension to things. She also has some similar symbols to the Isis, the Egyptian goddess. So her evolution from goddess to saint linked the pagan Celtic and Christian traditions, much in the same way like the cauldron of Caradwyn and the Holy Grail, right, that you see in the Arthurian legends. So she really was a bridge between these two worlds and successfully made the transition back to goddess again, pretty much with all her traditions intact. But the worship of Saint Brigid has persisted, really, and her Irish cult is nearly surpassing that of Mary. But in order to incorporate Brigid into the Christian worship, her involvement with the life of Jesus became the stuff of legend. So according to the stories in the popular book, The Lives of Saints, Brigid was actually the midwife. I'm sure you've probably heard this story. They tell it in the Waldorf schools to the kids. So she was the midwife present at the birth of Jesus. And in the legend, she's said to have placed 3 drops of water on the baby's forehead. And this is actually they stole this story, okay, because it was a Christianized version of a very ancient Celtic myth involving a character known as the Son of Light, go figure, who also receives 3 drops of water on his forehead in order to confer wisdom. So in other tales, Brigid is said to be the foster mother of Jesus. Now, taking in and fostering children was a big thing in the Celtic communities. They were very much about sharing and providing for each other. So in this story, it talks about how Brigid, took the child to save him from the slaughter of the innocents, instigated by Herod. So she's said to have worn a headdress with candles on it to light their way. And that's a remnant of, if you know the story of Santa Lucia, right? She has the candle crown. And also interesting, there exists this apocryphal gospel of Thomas that was excluded from the Bible, in which he claims that a web was woven over them to protect them as they made their escape into Egypt. And so this is really in keeping with Brigid's status as the patron of domestic arts, right? Weaving the wool from her ewes. And yes, our beloved Druids. Ooh, I'll have to come back and do a talk about them. So interesting. But in this talk, they're really just a transition, folks. So they've got a nice picture here. But they came right before the Christians. And they created these amazing Druidic colleges that were built upon the foundations of the old sacred sites that were sacred to the goddess. And then, of course, as everything does, the tide will turn. And so the thinly disguised pagan worship, it continued, even in the monasteries and the convents, which were built on these same sacred sites. So many of the great monasteries were once mystery centers, really, of great healing and learning and culture. Really amazing, too, to think about that these cloisters actually kept alive and preserved a lot of the mystery school traditions, during the time of the Dark Ages, where everything sort of disappeared. They were a place that kept them alive, and during this time, populations were decimated, with all the wars and everything. So finally, around then, is when these pagan women started to embrace Mary, the mother, in this new religion, because they could relate, right? Because they felt a similar experience sacrificing their sons to a political and religious machine. So, yes, everything changes, and the triple goddesses were replaced by a trinity, but the old ways lingered. And Brigid's role was never completely eradicated and reappears throughout her entire career as a Catholic saint. And her symbolism as a sun goddess remains in the form of Brigid's cross, a Windershins or counterclockwise cross. It's so ancient. We see it in ancient India. And of course, we know the Nazis co-opted it, but it was found worldwide because it's a profound symbol of transformation and still used today in the Celtic home to bring protection. So, the flame, the eternal flame. Yeah, we can see it in the shrine at Kildare. And it's a reminder of the Vestal Virgins, right? The priestesses of old who were trained there and then commissioned to go throughout the land to tend the sacred wells and the groves and the caves and the holy hills. So these priestesses committed to serve for 30 years. The first 10 years spent in training, right? 10 in the practice of their duties, and then the final 10, they were able to teach. So it's really very similar to the 3 degrees of initiation that you find in most mystery traditions. So then after that, they would marry, and so they would take their practice out in that way into the world. So these women preserved the old ways. They studied sciences, they even learned the laws of state, and of course they made healing remedies. And the site of Kildare was chosen. It's up on this beautiful hill, it's nice tall elevation, and there's also an ancient oak grove that's found there. So it was considered so sacred that no weapon was ever allowed there. And, you better not pick any flowers because the goddess would not like that. The priestesses, they needed those for their healing remedies. And the name Kildare actually means Church of the Oak. But the Romans just called that whole area the city of Brigid, just to be done with it, right? And so over the years, the protection of the sacred flame became a focus for this convent. And the abbess was considered to be the reincarnation of this goddess. And each abbess automatically took the name Brigid. And so the convent was occupied continuously with each abbess having a mystical connection to the goddess and retaining her name. And then, 1300s, a wicked duke comes in. It's the stuff of fairy tales, but it's true. He wanted one of his relatives to take over as the abbess. Well, of course, the population did not like that, but his troops overran the convent and they raped the reigning abbess in order to discredit her. And after that, Kildare was really lost a lot of its power. And then the fires were said to be put out officially by King Henry VIII during the Reformation. But during that time, my grandmother used to say that the convent was occupied by the goddess herself. And so she went from this position of the mother to lawgiver, to very much paralleling the attributes of Minerva. And so really this was the secret to her success, right? To be able to move from category to category, it keeps you going. And so even during those dark times, the old ways were always practiced, although not openly, but like I said, in order to make sure that the people didn't stray from the new religion, many aspects of the old were incorporated into the new. And my mother's mother, she came from Newbridge, which is very close to Kildare. And she would say, well, that bridge is, she still protects us as we walk through the labyrinth of our modern lives, right? And as we will soon see, that spark of fire still lives within us if we choose to call it in. Did you feel that was a shift? There was a shift right there. Okay, phase 2. So yeah, we're going to go deeper now. And we're going to practice this thing called the occult law of threes. In a nutshell, it's very simple. It's hard to listen. It's difficult to sit and just listen, right? So you have to hear something at least 3 times. You do. And if you really want something, you have to ask for it for at least 3 times, right? So keep that in mind. And so you will hear me. I will recapitulate. I will say some things that you might have heard before, but that's good because that means that a little bell will ring. Yeah, there it was. I heard it. A little bell will ring, and that hopefully will bring these concepts deeper into you, okay? So that we can get ready for the work we're going to do in phase 3. So, Brigid, whose name means the exalted one, is a triple goddess, portraying the powerful archetypes of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. She is the goddess of poetry. In Ireland, they call it fire in the head. Brigid is the goddess of healing, especially herb lore and purification through water. So many healing wells and sacred springs were named after her. And Brigid is the goddess of smithcraft, symbol of the will forces, folks, right? Mastering and channel those fires of passion. So why do I say these things? Because we have fire, we have water. These are two alchemical symbols, folks. And when we put them together, it gives birth to healing. I'm getting shivers. I mean, this is the truth. This healing power of regeneration and transformation comes from bringing those things together. And so legend has it that she was born at sunrise while her mother was walking over a threshold. So she was never really here nor there, right? This is a state known as liminality, right? It's a Latin word for threshold. So it's a state of being in between time and space. And tradition says that she gave humankind the alphabet. And with the alphabet, she created the universe. And that she wove the very first piece of cloth in Ireland, weaving into it healing threads that have kept their power down through the centuries. So if you get a chance to buy a wool sweater from Ireland, you feel like you're getting a cold, put it on. It'll work. And in her maiden aspect, she said to charm new life into the cold heart of winter. And we're going to have to work on that one a little bit, huh? And help to open his eyes to the promise of spring. So the venom of the cold is said to tremble for its safety on St. Brigid's Day and then to run for its life on St. Paddy's Day. And so we know about this bishop, St. Patrick. We've heard of him. And we've heard that he drove the snakes out of Ireland. I wonder what that means. Well, you could think of it like he's driving the pagans out of Ireland, right? Or you could think of it just that the snake represents transformation and that everything changes. That's the way I like to see it. So her feast day is this cross quarter between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. And, traditionally there's a fixed date that we think of, right? February 1st, February 2nd. But it's actually determined by a celestial alignment when the sun is at 15 degrees Aquarius. That is the actual cross-quarter day. But in Ireland, they celebrate it like a season. So it lasts, usually from the 1st of February all the way to the full moon. So we are standing right at the nexus of the power, right? The eve, the ancient people knew you always celebrate the festival on the eve. That's where the power really lies before you've spent it all. Now we're holding it all right now. So, perfect night. And I remember when I was growing up, we used to put cake or buttered bread and milk outside because, of course, Brigid and her cow were going to walk through the neighborhood. They needed some sustenance, And my grandma would remind us, oh, don't forget to put out the silk ribbon. We'd tie it on the door handle, because when Brigid would go by, she would bless it, and then we would use it for healing purposes. So, if you fell down, you scraped your knee, Ma would say, go get Brigid's bow, go get Brigid's bow. Some kid would go and get it and tie it on your knee, and of course, the boo-boo was all better. Worked every time. And even back when my daughter was younger, our little Waldorf community, that's a school she goes to, they had a tradition that we would celebrate at this magical time. We'd get together with our daughters and really just honor and explore the power of the triple goddess within us. We'd just do a lot of storytelling. And we'd craft these beautiful Brigid's crosses, which is a special Celtic knot that represents a fiery sun wheel turning. So we'd kindle a fire in the fireplace and, have a potluck meal. And, sometimes we'd make a little scavenger hunt in the woods and try to find some crocuses in the snow. That was always nice. But traditionally, this is a time of purification. So go home and clean your house. It's the least you can do. And Brigid will bless you for it. And if you have any Christmas greenery hanging around, no good. You have to burn it. It's good luck. You have to burn it. But in the olden times, the mystery schools held elaborate purification rites in preparation for a yearly rededication to the goddess, an initiation to help them achieve their highest spiritual goals. And as I mentioned earlier, after the Christians took over, Brigid's Day was equated with Candlemas, a Christian holy day, which just happens to be 40 days after Easter. Now, we've heard this 40 days before, right? That's something about that, Many occult traditions recognize this time period of 40 days as holding a very powerful mystery. So the Christians call it the Feast of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Because, it was a true Jewish tradition to go to the temple 40 days after birth to make an offering and to purify yourself after giving birth to a child. So, the name Candlemas also comes from the fact that the Catholic churches would have a ceremony where they would bless the candles that they used every year. And I know a lot of people who get together these days and have candle making parties at this time of year. It's a good tradition. But I just think it's so interesting to think that the Catholics really did keep the essence, right? They kept that alchemy. They had the purification of the fire and the water and the fire aspect, right? So even though things changed, there's still always an essence there if you look for it. And so the candle that is burning here tonight, well, we have 3 of them, actually contains what in Ireland is called Brigid's fire. So this fire here was brought across the ocean to Chicago from Kildare many years ago. Now this flame, as we've heard a little bit about, it passed down through the generations, has a story which reaches back, pre-Christian times when the goddesses kept the eternal flame lit. And we've heard the story of how it went out and this and that. But then, in 1963, the sacred flame was officially relit by Mary Therese Cullen, who took the name Brigid when she became the abbess of the Brigidine sisters. So this new abbess made it a point to speak openly about it when she rekindled the eternal flame at the start of a peace and justice conference. Isn't that perfect? So now it burns once again in the middle of Kildare. Quote, for a beacon of peace, justice, truth, and the care of the earth. And so let me reveal how the secret of keeping this sacred flame within the candle. The secret is we don't blow it out. We extinguish it by putting our fingers in the holy water and letting the water meet the fire. And anything you do with intention, my friends, this is what magic is. Our will to decide what we want to do, right? And so later on, we'll be able to explore that further, and I hope that you'll decide to bring her home to you, to your house. Yeah. So I think we're ready. What do you think? Are we ready to go a little deeper here? So I invite you to gaze into that fire, especially the one in the middle, so you can really see that flame. Can everybody see that? So gaze into Brigid's fire and feel its warmth radiating into the center of your heart. Look deeply into the candle, and then gaze into the flame for a few minutes, and then every once in a while, try closing your eyes. Can you still see the image of the flame against your eyelids? Feel it like a spark that heats you from the inside out. So if it's your will, practice this, alternating between looking into the flame and closing your eyes and seeing the flame within as I warm us with this imagination. For I know it's easy to forget at this time of year when the skies are steel gray and the ice crystals bite. That stirring in the cold wind is the spark of spring, waiting to be ignited by the passion of our purpose. Can you feel the energy of the earth quickening? I feel it groaning and stretching in the earth of my body, like a snake trying to shed its skin, yearning to peel off all those layers of winter clothes. And remember Brigid's symbols? The serpent of wisdom, along with the cow and the ewe. Yes, and the cockerel, herald of the new day, a wake-up call for us all. Can you picture these totem figures coming alive in the flame? It makes me want to be a molting bird dancing in the silent belly of February. For Imbolc means in the belly. Picture it, if you will, the first ewes starting to be born at this time, and the joy this brings. And think how the name February actually comes from the ancient word which means tool of purification. So here we are, on the eve of the full quickening moon, ready to celebrate Brigid's feast day, called by some Candlemas, others Tu B'Shvat, Groundhog's Day, still others Imbolc, the lambing season. The time of year when the belly of the Great Mother quickens with the growing light. A time to purify and get fertile. So tonight, let's charm the plow and kiss the candle to kindle a need fire as a welcoming beacon, to call back our dormant power, to heat up our potential and reseed our creativity as we add fuel to the fire of our community. One spark warms us all, a purifying fire that burns clean and opens the way to the true power of love and light from deep within, from the ancient and immortal tribes, from all the far quarters of the cosmos, to come and warm our circle, to bring their respected dimensions into the eternity of our circle now, our circle which is open and ever-changing. For we have a lot to honor in ourselves tonight. As we stand at the eve of the full quickening moon, whispering the promise of passion like a communal chant that builds. Yes, this is the time of year about the promise of spring. As we step out of the center point of the dark half of the year, preparing for growth and renewal, performing the ancient rituals of spring cleaning, purifying, and anointing the body electric, awakening the spirit within, a time of spiritual rededication, of self-blessing and initiation, of affirming and energizing creative work, a time of blessing the seeds and consecrating the garden tools, of calling forth and rekindling the sacred fires, our ancient symbol of regeneration, of invigoration, of becoming, of rebirth. So let's offer our deepest heart's longing as a clarion call to invoke and inspire Brigid, goddess of the forge of poetry and healing, to come and spark us, that we may heal ourselves and each other, that we may see our creativity become fertile, inflaming us with the passion of our purpose. And I will dare you now to go deeper now. I will ask you now to look within, to find the one seed word or phrase that best describes what you need to purify, what no longer serves, what you need to purge from your life. No, there's no right answer. There's no abracadabra. Just the steady beat of our hearts, making us fertile ground for the new beginnings of spring. But first we must sweep the hearth clean before we can build the new fire. We must open the way. So what is it that you would sweep aside? Name who or what in your life is like the dried leaves of fall that must be actively swept up and put into the compost in order to make your future fertile. What do you need to wash away? How can you make room for the new? Let your heart whisper this into the flame. Whisper this into the flame to burn it away. Whisper what you would burn away. Give it away. Give it away with love and gratitude. Thank you, thank you. Make an offering to the flame. Brigid's active element is fire, the blue part of the flame, which burns clean and hot. So let Brigid take what no longer serves. Send it into the blue part of the flame. Let the energy be released and transformed. Released and transformed. Released. And now, while looking into Brigid's fire, meditate on what you want that energy that has just been released. What do you want to transform it into? Name it. What do you want to grow? What do you want to feed and foster in health and strength this year? What do you want to grow for yourself, for your family, your community, the earth? Ask now for Brigid's blessing upon these prayers for growth. What will you gladly water? What needs your healing care? What wants the passion of your purpose? Whisper this into the flame. Give this as a gift to the eternal flame that lives within you. Give it away, knowing it will come back. It will come back fully grown as you tend it in its season. So look deeply into the candle. Can you still see the image of the flame against your eyelids? Growing and glowing now with the fire of your hopes and dreams. Yes, it burns there. An eternal flame in the darkness. Now see it growing brighter and brighter in your mind's eye. For we go steeper and deeper still. Are you with me? for we enter phase 4. And imagine that you're standing at a threshold filled with the warm red, gold, and blue light of a brilliant fire. Imagine, in fact, know that you are standing at the entrance to a mighty forge, blazing like the sacred heart in the middle of a wintry forest. And there, in the center, is a fervent fire burning and roaring with life. And in front of it stands the goddess in the image of a woman. Thick auburn hair tied back, with a few rippling curls flaming and framing her shining face. She's dressed in dark green, with sleeves rolled up to the elbows, revealing strong, loving arms. You know her. She is part of you. She is the goddess Brigid, standing over a large anvil where all her concentration is focused. She beats with a steady rhythm, creating cosmic designs on a gleaming sheet of soft bronze with a great hammer. She works hard at her craft, concentrated and focused. And now she looks up and smiles at you warmly. She's finished her creation, and she holds it up to the light of the fire for you to see. And as you look at it, it seems to continually change shape. First, it appears to be a leaf, then a globe, and now it has become a star, a fiery sun wheel turning. Brigid laughs musically from deep within her belly and tosses the star into the air, where it sails into the night sky and takes its place among the resplendent constellations. This work done for now, Brigid turns towards you, and from within yourself, you speak her name as if it is your own. So within yourself, you speak her name. It is your own. You speak her name 3 times, for it is your own. You call to that part of her within you, and you hear her. You hear her, for she answers. Aye. Aye, like the break of day, I come. I hear you. I hear you call, my sweet city druids. Calling forth like the herald of the new day. And you see, we're standing at the threshold, that mysterious place on the brink between winter and spring, where anything's likely to happen, and most certainly will if we make it so. Aye, like a fiery arrow. Ha ha, I come to kindle within you a new vitality. Can you feel the upwelling like a tiny spark looming up from the coals of the home fires, forth flaring from the sweltering soil like sap arising, swift sprouting like a crocus in the snow? Aye, you see, things are shifting already. For now, it is I that's calling the deep part of you to come forth like the snake coming up from the cave, ignited by the passion of your purpose. Ah, but it is cold and dark still, so come, sit a while at my mantle, at my hearth fires. 'Tis always a blessing to be with your clanmates. Go on, feel the warmth gracing your hands, preparing them for the work ahead. Aye, let yourself melt like a beeswax candle, releasing the sweet honey essence of inspiration, your deep creative power quickening and awakening. And now I ask you to ask yourself, do you choose to go further? and brave my fires of transformation. Aye, they say these flames can get very hot, like the fire of Hades itself, some say. Will you take my name and become one who exalts themselves? For now is the time of regeneration and rededication. So will you feed the forge and become one with the sacred flame, malleable and ready for change? Can you feel the fire of life rising in your blood? Do you want to feel the fire of love stirring in your heart? You have to call forth the fires of initiation to burn away all dross in the molten golden glow of divine affirmation, purifying and self-blessing. For you are invited to forge and shape yourselves into the tools of your own self-same destiny. So, will you kindle with me a need fire as a welcoming beacon to call back your dormant power, to heat up your potential and reseed your creativity? Will you step up and begin to be the change you want to see in the world? Can you be the hammer and anvil of your own destiny? Aye, shifting and tooling and shaping, crafting, molding life force into gold. And I ask you, what song of creation will your hammer sing as it strikes the anvil of your soul? Aye, there's work to be done in this halfway time before the spring is sprung. So, let's up and do it. Come now, if it is your will, and add your fuel to the fire to forge your own transformation. Aye, let's get those fires burning. And then after, when you're white hot from the hammer's blow, and the inspiration of the anvil has branded you with the mark of initiation, come then to my sacred well, to learn the mysteries of the healing waters, to be tempered and strengthened. Aye, come, my sweet blazing seeds, to the holy well, and drink deep of the mysteries of germination. Water from fire, day from night, up from the mire into the light. Hi, there's a bit of magic for you, huh? Water from fire, 'tis my great mystery, sure and true. And here's a clue. Let me ask you, whilst at the forge, did you happen to get a glimpse of the blue part of the flame? It's the hottest part, they say, burning clean. The steady, purifying eye o' blue. The secret of alchemy, don't you know? Well, there's a hint to ponder by the by. But for now, come, asperge yourselves, your newly tooled selves in the purifying cauldron of rebirth. For whatever it is that you want to see grow, you have to water it. It must be tempered and watered. Aye, and we all have our own unique gifts and talents that need fostering. Me, I'm a smithy and the keeper of the sacred well. But did you know, they call me the milkmaid and the midwife, muse and mentor, healer sure and true. And you can be these things and more for yourself when you do what you do. Can you smell the aroma of the healing herbs boiling in the pot? Mingling with the earthy scent of root stew and buttermilk for the supper? And the pungent smells of smoke and peat that infuse the brew, wafting up like visions. Water flowing from the well. Go on. Hold hope in your hands and drink it. Weave hope from the darkness and live it. And so I say to you, let your own unique gifts, the embodiment of your talents, be blessed in the waters of healing, wisdom upwelling, grace compelling in the clear eye of vision. Your sweet voice, lilting and singing, the deft hand making and shaping, going on to be creating with head and heart and hands awakened, weaving hope from the darkness. Aye, to make your life a work of art would please me, sure and true. To make your life a work of art, you must create your life anew. To make your life a work of art will please the world too. So, make your life a work of art with all you say and do. Aye, and blessed be. So, now that you've started to be rekindled, my sweet city druids, once and again, I think it's high time I got back to me own work before the metal gets too cold and the tide turns. But remember, I'm with you always in the forge of your heart. That's me hammering away, setting the pulse to the heartbeat we all share. And from the sacred well of your dreams, I send me blessings of creative inspiration. But for now, it's the living that's left to do and the doing that's to be done in its time. And so I say to you, fare thee well, my once and always Celtic cousins, with this last bit of advice. Enjoy the working of the work, not just the holding of it in your hands, but the working of the work. For remember, before the flower was the bud, before the bud was the sprout, before the sprout was the roots. So enjoy the working of the work. For if you appreciate every step along the way, your life will be a work of art, sure and true. Aye. Blessings on all your endeavors. Well, we'll see you on the high road. And so, yes, my friends, Brigid will always be there in your heart of hearts, adding fire to your vision, sparking your intention. And so, as we enter this phase 5, feel her essence really just encouraging you, filling you up with confidence as you open to receive her potent spark of creativity. And if you ever have those self-doubts, right? The fear comes up. Know that this potent Celtic goddess is surrounding you with her mantle of protection, right? A soft, warm cloak of green that makes you feel safe and invincible. And don't forget that okay, you got to work in the fierceness of the forge, you do, but come down to the holy well from time to time, right? So that your metal can be tempered and refreshed, so that you can be born again and again to do the great work. And like the dawning of spring, we come back to flood our hearts and our minds and bring this purifying, revitalizing power, so that you're really able to see yourself and your vision more clearly, feeling this clean sense of accomplishment and pride. So ask, and she will be there to help you with each step along the way, as you pour the healing waters onto the dormant fields of your life, as you fire up the forge, as you live this mystery of this mystic marriage between the fire and the water, this union of the opposites, remembering always to tend and heed your inner flame as you dance your life, knowing that her voice is singing within your heartbeat. It's sweet. Sweet like a song, but it's driving like the earthly rhythm of a drum. And so you can call for clarity, and you can feed your faith, and you can fire up your will, and let the season take hold. It's hard to be patient. And so Brigid has shown us the luminous furnace and that crafts our tools, and the sacred healing well. And so we'll take them with us this night. And so let's just bring all these images, the forge, and let it feel like a sun that's glowing within ourselves, right? All these forms and shapes, including that of Brigid herself. Let's just melt into this infusion of golden light that lives in our solar plexus, right, and sings in our hearts. And so, to see this light again in the candle flame. And so, if it's your will, what we're going to do now, I'm really going to push your limits here. I'm going to ask you to actually stand up. And I don't know if we're going to all be able to fit here by the altar, but make your way. And I'm going to sing a chant, and I'm going to just sing it for you one time, and then you can hear it, and then we'll do like a call and response. And then I'll invite you to pick up a candle here and take this flame. And so do it with an intention that you want to bring the energy of Brigid into this flame, and then be sure to put it out using the water, and then your intentions will be sealed into this flame. And when you get home, you can light it on fire and dedicate a candle to Brigid, and then she'll be in your home forever. So, see if I can find my voice here. So come on over. Holy water, sacred flame, Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart, source of healing, song, and art. Okay, yeah, come on over. Don't be shy. So I'll sing the first line, and then you sing it back. But you can ignite at any time. Holy water, sacred flame.
Holy water, sacred flame.
Brigid, we invoke your name. Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart.
Bless my
Head, my hands, my heart. Source of healing, song, and art. Source of healing, song, and art. Holy water, sacred flame. Holy water, sacred flame. Brigid, we invoke your name. Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart. Bless my hands, my head, my heart. Source of healing, song, and art. Source of healing, song, and art. Holy water, sacred flame. Holy water, sacred flame. Brigid, we invoke your name. Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart.
Bless my hands, my head, my heart.
Source of healing, song, and art.
Source of healing, song, and art.
Holy water, sacred flame. Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart. Source of healing, song, and art. Holy water, sacred flame. Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart. Source of healing, song, and art. Holy water, sacred flame. Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart. Source of healing, song, and art. Come on, step up if you haven't gotten a candle yet. Holy water, sacred flame. Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart. Source of healing, song, and art. Holy water, sacred flame. Brigid, we invoke your name. Bless my hands, my head, my heart. Source of healing, song, and art. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think I lost my little headpiece here. That's okay. So don't forget to come and put it out with the water to continue the alchemy. And we can start to do some questions. Would that be okay, John? Or should we sit down? What would you like to do?
Put out the candle, drink the water.
Well, if anybody wants to shout one out, we can do that while we're sitting down too. Not yet. There's a protocol.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please extinguish the flames and try not to drip holy wax on our carpet.
Of course. Thank you. Please do.
And once you've extinguished the flame,
That's
please
easy.
take your seats again. Okay.
It's part of the initiation.
You may need a little more
Moving along,
water.
fingers.
Too much
All
fire,
right.
not
We got
enough
some brave
water.
folks here. I like that. It's worth it. It's worth it. Do it quickly. Be brave. See, there we go. Very good. All right, do we have any questions? Anybody want to ask a question or have an insight to share? Anybody have something they want to say?
If you do have a question, please raise your hand. I'll bring you the microphone so that we can also record the question. And I think there is a question that came through somebody watching on the internet, so I'll read that out first. The meteor falling into the lake on Sunday, the comet showing up this weekend,
Yes.
portents and signs. So the question is, would shaman of other philosophies be in conflict, opposition to the goddess within us?
Why? Of course not. Especially Brigid. She is so forgiving. I mean, look at what she's been through, right? I mean, you know, every tradition has a different road. Every tradition leads to the same place, which is within ourselves, right? To be a good human being. That's really what it's all about. And there's, you know, many ways to do that, many myths that can guide us. And of course, when we're in alignment with the cycle of the season, it really does help. It really helps us to you know, find our place and find ourselves within that. So yes, it's the eve of the full moon. Can we open the curtain so we can see? Is it out there? Can we see it?
You probably won't be
We
able
can't.
to see it.
Oh, when we
because
go
it's
outside,
so
we'll
light.
see it.
When you go outside, it's very
But there
bright.
will be a lunar eclipse, a partial lunar eclipse tomorrow. I think it's around 7:45. We won't be able to see it here in Chicago area, but it doesn't matter. We can still tune into these things, you know, and at the same time a comet, and so. One of my great teachers, Rudolf Steiner, talks about these comets and these things like these eclipses as being an opportunity to make the light within ourselves ever brighter. Because when the sun is blocked by the moon or any kind of an object, it creates a barrier. And so we have to then step up and bring that light ourselves. So, you know, of course, people used to be very superstitious and think of it as a bad omen. And it does hold energies that are not necessarily for our highest good. So that's why we have to step up. And so it's a good opportunity to put our higher selves into action.
Another question from the audience, maybe?
I just want to say thank you for sharing your altar. I'm Wiccan, so that's, you know, what they have going on, and she shared her altar. Thank you very much. It was very nice. This is my girl Casey, and
Hi,
she's
Casey.
learning all different kinds of views, and I appreciate this. This is wonderful. This is for me a recap, you know, Like you, I'm Celtic to Irish too, and Italian, so it's a good
Irish and
combination.
Italian, me too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful. It's wonderful to celebrate with all you guys. Happy Symbolic. Soon we're going to celebrate spring, and then the Beltane Feast. Now, if you're not married and you're looking for somebody, the Beltane Feast is wonderful. It's a big, wonderful sexual feast. But but enjoy yourselves.
That's right.
Thank
you, Mom.
One more question from somebody on the internet. I cannot sleep on full moon nights. Any suggestions?
Don't sleep. Celebrate. That's right. Celebrate. Yes. Do as our ancestors did. Go out and dance a little bit. That'll make you tired.
So since Brigid is the inspiration for creating what we want, can you speak a little bit more about her courage and finding the joy within that courage to be able to do what needs to be done? I think many of us feel challenged at this moment in our historical setting for many reasons, but I feel like this is very apropos for what many of us are feeling. We could go one way or the other. And if Brigid is there to help us kindle what we need, can you please talk as her, with her, for us a little?
Well, that's a great, great question. And I think, personally, I feel like we have to do the work. That's what she said. That's what she said. That was what I got out of what she said. You know, we can't get bogged down by what somebody else is doing or worried about whatever's going to happen. Because a lot of times, you know, if we're not doing what we have to do, that's when something's not going to happen. So to give us the courage, if we step up and do what we're called to do, we'll be so involved with doing that we won't be bothered by all that fear and all those self-doubts and you know, worry. So to me, it's all about doing, you know, picking up those tools and working through things. And that's why the idea of the tripleness is so important, because it is a step, different steps that you take, right? So sometimes if you're carrying something that makes you feel anxious, what is it that you need to let go of? It's that purifying piece, right? And then, you know, this idea of those fires of courage, right? That give you the energy and strength to go out and to continue to do the work you have to do. You know, realizing who you are and what your calling is. What is the small step you can take today to get something done? I think it just starts with that. And then, you know, of course, her healing aspect is very important as well, right? When we're feeling all of that stuff, you know, sometimes we just need to sit down by the water and take a bath, you know, or whatever. So I'm not sure. I mean, anybody else have any insights they want to share on self-care, right? Self-care. Yeah.
I think we can take one last question.
I actually had a comment. I wanted to jump in on that, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Well, just a second. Not too long of a comment.
I think this time in our history allows us to really step forward and heal together, and in doing that, find courage in one another's healing and in our own. There's so many unique opportunities coming up right now from people just being vulnerable and the amount of pain that they're feeling, that I think really allows for some exceptional new ways to connect with our fellow humans and with our world. And I really think that being vulnerable is how we can become courageous, being vulnerable in front of each other. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this tonight.
Thank you so much for coming, really.
Did somebody raise a hand back here just a while ago?
I did. Just
A question?
a previous comment.
Another comment?
Just one. Thank you for letting her show through you, letting Brigid show through you her playfulness.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one thing we forget in our worship in our lives. I remember standing in line to light the candle and then to put it out, and all the while she's she's laughing in me and through me. All right, I dare you. Come on, I dare you. You do it. And if we bring a little bit more of that kind of spark into our lives, it was an unexpected pleasure of coming here. I mean, I knew I'd enjoy it, but I didn't think I'd enjoy it. I didn't think I'd enjoy it in that playful way. So thank you, and thank Brigid.
Yay. All right. Thank you.
Well, on that note, which is hard to beat,
That's
I'd like to thank you very much, Hazel, for that wonderful presentation. She did frighten me before the talk because she told me she's used to going on for at least 2 hours. And this was not, and I'm sitting here and kind of dreading having to stand up and say, stop. But you did
You would have got a
marvelously.
fight.
You did wonderfully, and look at that, right on time.
Okay.
So thank you very much. Maybe a hand of appreciation.
I would just like to thank Victoria Martin for helping me with the PowerPoint. It's the first time I ever did PowerPoint. Wasn't that fun? And my husband Chuck for driving, and my friend Deborah for coming with, and my Dr. Wagner came too, and just thank you all for coming. Thank you.
And there will be more opportunities for questions. There will be more time. It's not like we have to vacate the premise immediately. I just want to wrap up the formal meeting so that then you can have refreshments and informal discussion and obviously opportunity for other questions. But before I wrap up, I just want to make a couple of announcements. Next Thursday's speaker will be Azam Nizamuddin, and Azam has spoken here on a previous occasion. He's an adjunct professor in the Department of Theology at Loyola University in Chicago. And next week he's going to speak on the spiritual poetry of Rumi, the language of love. And he gave a talk here last year, and it was wonderful. And so we invited him to come again. And this time the talk will be focused more on the actual poetry and its spiritual significance. So I do invite all of you and spread the word. And anyone who can come, please join us Thursday next week. In addition to next Thursday's talk, we have got a couple of workshops coming up this Saturday and then again Saturday next week. We have a therapeutic touch basic course being offered. It's healing with the heart and hands, and this is it's a 2-day course, 2 Saturdays. And it's being taught by Marilyn Johnson and Lisa Leamy, and they're both nurses and experts and teachers of this therapeutic touch healing technique that's was actually taught within the Theosophical Society here for quite a long time, and now continues to be spreading internationally. If you're interested in healing modality of this sort, therapeutic touch, maybe you'd like to join that workshop on Saturday, but keep in mind that it is a 2-day workshop. And if you want more information, just pick up one of the flyers on the way out. Friday next week, we have an opportunity for you to experience a crystal bowl sound healing with Yolanda Lozano, and she does these crystal bowl healing meditation, very soothing, vibrational healing, and it's one of the very relaxing experiences that you can have. I certainly recommend it. If there is anyone here, or if there are people here who are primarily interested in meditation and would like an opportunity to maybe practice a kind of a longer period of meditation under the guidance of a very good teacher, in a couple of weeks we'll be having a weekend meditation retreat being led by Santi Caro It is for people who have meditation experience. And so if you're just a beginner, it may not be quite the right one to start with, although we do have an ongoing meditation class or group that meets here on Sundays, and you're always welcome to come to that. It's 11 a.m. on Sunday mornings, and that one is free as well. But if you're a meditator and have an interest in maybe joining the meditation retreat, you can speak with me or just go on our website and get the information for it. And they are all the announcements. Now you are free to enjoy refreshments, enjoy conversation, and get some more information out of Hazel. Thank you all for coming this evening.